Welcome to the Ordinary Guy Garage. I'm Scott, an ordinary guy, and this is going to be part 2 of my dent repair on my 66 Chevy pickup, and it's also going to be part 1 of installing a patch panel. Now, if you watched my first video on this, part 1, you saw that I bought the Harbor Freight stud gun, and I pulled this dent out as best that I could. My whole way of thinking when I bought that was I knew that I needed to do something about this door, and I knew that I was probably going to have to put a new piece of sheet metal on it, because when it got hit back here, it really stretched the metal. It didn't just put a dent in that you can, hit down the high spot and pull out the low spot. It stretched it. So I figured that this was a perfect place for me to play around with a stud gun and try to do a little bit of body work. Body work's not my first thing. I like motors and fabricating a little bit better than, heavier fabrication than this. So I'm gonna learn this. Fortunately, I'm a fast learner, I guess you can say that. I laugh about that because I used to have a tree service, and when I had my tree service, guys would put on their applications fast learners. Fast learner usually meant they had had a lot of jobs. So I always laugh at that a little bit. So whenever you're applying for a job, don't put fast learner down there. But anyways, so what I did was I pulled this out the best that I could. And taking a straight edge, because this is a straight panel, going in this plane is a straight panel. It has a slight, but not much. It's pretty much a straight panel. Now when I go up here, it sits pretty good. I got a little bit of a low spot back in here, which is fine because, I could pull that a little bit more and I could fill the, a little bit of that, no big deal. It gets a little bit bigger through here, but no big deal. It's still the same kind of deal. Now when I get to right about here, I start getting a high spot. Let me move the camera down a little bit so you can get a little better angle on it. I start getting a high spot. And it gets really bad when right in this section right here. The bottom I got pretty good, but it's got this real bend to it. So this is where the metal's stretched. I have this spot right here where it was hit in, and when it went in, it stretched the metal. So in pulling this out, I'm getting a high spot right here. There's a high spot right there, and that metal, because the metal is like a circle, if you hit one spot in, that spot goes out. So the metal's got to have a place to go. It doesn't have a place to go right now because it's all stretched. This is stretched here, but that's really stretched badly. So there's no place for the metal to go. So my option at this point is to cut a relief in here. I could do a couple different directions, cut a relief and relieve some of that, or shrink it, but I'm not sure how to do that. But I can cut a relief would be the thing that I would do, and then I could start shrinking it together, or have a little less material, weld it back together, and that may take care of it. My way of thinking here, I already have a messed up piece of metal. If I start trying to cut reliefs into it, I'm going to get this panel overworked. It's already overworked, and it's going to be a mess. So best thing for me to do at this point is to put a panel on, patch panel on. So I went and saw my friend, the one who did the side here. I called him up and I said, hey, can you make me up a patch panel? And he said, yeah, sure, come on down, no problem. So he made me up a patch panel. Now it's just an 18 gauge steel, and what he did was he cut it out, gave me a little seam on the edge, did a little shrinking on one side, which pretty much matches the contour of the door. So this is the side piece right here, and this will go in just like that, pretty much. So what he told me to do is to don't cut it and then weld it in like that, because you'll have welds going in different directions and your panel's going to distort and you're going to have a hard time getting that out. You're going to cause more problems. He said the thing to do is cut a radius in it, and then you cut a fairly pretty much corresponding radius back in here. anyways, he showed me how to do it, told me how, and I'll do that. I'll video that. Hopefully it comes out good. But you can see in that radius is going to go right through. Depending on how I do it, I could probably. It's going to take into, that's the top corner, that's the bottom corner. If I radius in like that, it's going to take pretty much most of that high spot out. All of that stretched metal will come out and have a nice clean piece of metal in there. So that's my plan. All right, so I got my piece here, my patch panel. What I did was, I want to try to use as much of it as I can. So this is 16 inches from here to here. So what I did, since I need a radius, I just went out, trying to get this where you can, light sucks in here. 16 inches out from the corner, and then I just kind of marked a bunch of little marks and then just freehanded a radius there. And I'll cut this out on my bandsaw I got here. So it's one of those convertible ones. It's just a chop saw, but you can leave it up. And so this is going to be the first time I've used it in the up position. I only bought this a year or so ago. But anyways, let's see what happens. Man, that was loud. So I didn't, that's the first time I used that bandsaw in the upright like that, cutting sheet metal. And thinking about it, probably what I should have done was marked it on the inside, you know, with that lip up. That way I could have laid it flat. The reason it was shaking around so much is because it wasn't sitting flat on that table. And that table's kind of small. It's not really, it's more of a chop. But anyways, and I should wore hearing protection, you know. Years of tree work, years of working on cars, now driving a Kenworth with straight pipes on it, man, it's my ears ring all the time. And so I'm gonna put some earplugs in. I try to develop the habit, man, do it. So that way you're not at 50, however many years old I am, with a constant ringing in your ears, not being able to hear a lot of what's being said. Sometimes it works out good, but a lot of times it doesn't. So anyways, I'm gonna smooth this edge out right here. So I got a flapper wheel on my grinder, and I'm just gonna smooth it out. All right, that ought to do it. Let's take it over to the truck. All right, so pieces cut, and I smoothed over the radius. I just got it lightly held up there with a couple of clamps. I'm just gonna mark it. I had a really nice Sharpie, and well, they disappear. This one here is kind of, you know, they get dull on the tip. This one's kind of one of my dull ones. I had a nice one and it disappeared. So I'm gonna blame my kids. My dad used to always blame me for stuff missing, so I feel it my duty to blame my kids. So it definitely wasn't me. I mean, I do have a bunch of pink scissors in my toolbox, and my wife is always looking for her pink scissors. But in my defense, those pink scissors that I have, I collected those after she bought a new pair, so at least that's the story. So anyways, now what we're doing here is I'm gonna mark that like I did. Then what I'll do is make my cut a little bit shy of that here and a little bit shy of that here. And then because of, I'll show you in a sec. And then what I'll do is I'll come in about an inch or so right here, like that. This is where I'll make my cut on the panel. I'll make that cut right there. And then I'm going to grind these edges down so that way, by grinding the edges down, see right now when I set this in here, you know, this old panel that's here, this piece here, this bends over, is over there. So I need to grind that down and get down to where this is actually sitting on the inside part and not on the skin itself. And then I'll get that clamped in there the right way. And then what I was told to do is get that cut in and cut this. Here, I'm gonna flip this around and go over that. All right, so this is that lip I'm talking about right here. I need to grind this because the metal's double right here because it's this and the skin. So I'm gonna grind that down right there so I can get that loose. Right there. When I start my cut here, and this is the reason why I did this, I'm going to leave it straight until I get past all of this wahooey right in here. So that'll be straight. And I started about 2 inches, and then I'm going to start my radius there. Same thing down here. Get past all of that, and then I'll cut my radius, but my inside radius right there. This here, I'll grind down right there, and then this piece should come out. Now the other thing that's gonna happen by pulling this out is I'm gonna be able to get in there and clean it, and I got some POR 15 that I could paint on inside of there and stuff to cover up the rusty area, because you get a lot of rust inside these things. So anyways, that's my plan. Let's see what happens. All right, no turning back now. I got the piece cut out right there. And here's the chunk. You can see it. Now I can move the angle around a little bit more. You can see that spot right there. That spot right there. That's really, see it from the back side. That's the way to see it. Right from the back side. See how it's all stretched right in there. There's no place for that metal to go because it's stretched. So the other thing I found, actually the inside of the door is really clean, you know, considering, you know, these are prone to water runs down through the window, the side glass, and rusts these things out on the bottom. So, but this was another issue right here. There is a hump. Let me see if I can get the camera down. There's a hump right in there. And you can see if you look down, the door kind of does a curve in that way because of that hump. So there was no way I was going to be able to fix that without cutting the skin off. So just unraveling more reasons why I'm doing this. And again, this is my first time doing anything like this, so we're learning together. All right, well, I'm going to call it a day at that. You know, got that piece cut out and got a big chunk of the stuff there. Most of the demo work is done. Well, what'll happen though is I get so involved in it that I end up skipping things or tripping over parts and doing, so I have to stop. I learned a long time ago to just stop. Call it a day, come back at it the next day. You know, when I was younger, I'd work all night, you know, or most of it anyways, but not so much anymore. But anyways, so I'm gonna call it good on that for right now. I'll make another, tomorrow I'll come back out and make another video of getting it all back together. One of the other things I did, and this is why I stopped doing it, is I realized as I'm doing it, or it just dawned on me, like, you know what, that door isn't completely aligned. Now, if I'm gonna go put that panel on and I'm trying to line it up and I'm tacking it in and the door is off a little bit, when I go and align the door, the panel is gonna be crooked. So I said, whoop, 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 let's stop here for a minute and I realigned the door. It was only out by a little tiny bit, but enough. So that's straightened out. So tomorrow I'll come back out here and I'll really go at it, and I think tomorrow I'll have that panel tacked in there, hopefully welded in. You know, we'll see if I'm able to get the whole thing in there. You know, got to take my time if I want it to come out right. You know, there's gonna be a lot of fitting. You know, and you know, you know, like I said before, you only have one opportunity to get it right the first time. And this being the first time I've ever done it, I need to take every opportunity to make sure I get it right. So anyways, thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. I see new subscribers, and tell your friends, share, like, tell me whatever. And I will see you on the next one. Stay safe, my friends.